way we teach and learn. And we know more about how the brain works. So what we know is that most people will learn more and retain more when what they are learning is relevant to their life right now. So if I say to you, I want to teach you about the existential philosophy of such and such and such and such, you're going to look at me and say, that's very interesting. Now, if you talk to me about what it means to die, because my mother is dying, I would really like to be part of that conversation, right? So we have to look at where we are. Podcasts are a form of accessible learning for all of us, 24/7, 365, right? You can pick a podcast and listen to it and be invited into a fairly intimate conversation on a topic or field of your interest. And most of the robust podcasts have been creative. They have websites that support the podcast. On the website, you can see you can see videos of teaching pieces or expanded content. You can see the cuts that came out. You can do the bloopers from the recordings. You can get downloadable articles, or you can get links to other resources if you want to go further on the topic that particular podcast introduced. So what it assumes is that people have an appetite for learning. And when we have the appetite and we have access to the resources, we are far more likely to want to engage in it. COVID, great accelerator, has changed the landscape forever of how the church is going to teach and learn our faith. First of all, we mostly teach and learn the faith by worshiping together, by doing service in the community together, by being enculturated into the practices of the people of God. I'm going to say more about that later. But on the formal education side of the church, the side where we really want to be sure that people know there's two testaments in the Bible, that they know something about the history and how they came to be, or understand something about where the Episcopal tradition sits across the landscape of Christian traditions. We do need to have access to people in ways that are helpful and fruitful, right? So COVID has changed so much. It has helped people who thought they would never touch a digital device in their life discover that it's not all evil. It's not all beyond their ability to use or to comprehend. Families were connected through horrible, long, extended periods of isolation and shutdown by having FaceTime conversations, by having a Zoom conversation, just a phone call, right? People picked up technology who had never wanted to touch it before and discovered that they could be connected in a reasonably sincere way to people they love and people they care about. That's not going away. So what we have to do now as churches is think really creatively about how do we offer formation all the time, basically. 24/7, 365. How do we create resources, some of which I call in my world evergreen, resources that someone can go to this year or next year or the year after because they're just really solid and they're available online. They might be a webinar that was recorded live and then recorded. They might be an audio file of somebody in your congregation who's a historian and talks about a series of really important things really well. And you just put those files up on your website in a well-organized form, and people know that they're there on the topics of interest. How do we create content that people have access to, that's relevant for their lives, that they can access in a timely way? So that this great, rich formation that we do doesn't all happen in a hall in 1 hour, and then it's poof, gone, right? If someone can't physically be here today, this one happens to be being recorded for just that reason. If someone's not physically able to join us, then they miss the train, right? Their chance is over. So, for those of you who are educators, those of you who've been thinking about this, you know about hybrid education. What I'm promoting and encouraging you to think about is we learn differently. We are finally waking up to neurodiversity, that there are so many different ways that minds and brains work, and we need to figure out how do we incorporate the beautiful children of God across all those diversities in opportunities for learning. And if the way we were doing it is that you always have to come to church building, and you always have to come to school on a 6th day of school, and I actually don't really like school, I'm not really good at school, why would Sunday school feel very different? confident learner in school. I want to be a confident learner in church. So what do we have available to us to reimagine the way we love each other into deepening relationship through Jesus Christ? We have so many options. We have so many ways to do this. And I'm going to just tell you, one of the things that I think is helpful is that there's a lot of social science, there's a lot of educational theory now that tells us some things that we know equip people for sustained learning. One of them is that you are able to, one of the words, portable. What you learn can be carried into some other dimension of your life. There's a way in which it's relevant, but it also is applicable. So if I learn how to fix a bicycle by watching a YouTube video, and I go fix my bicycle and I'm successful, that dopamine hit in my brain is enough to make me want to fix a bicycle again. It's enough to make me want to learn how to do something more. If, on the other hand, I try something and I fail at it, and I have nobody there to talk to about failing at it, it's probably going to discourage me from wanting to learn more. We probably all have examples from education. Mine was singing. I was told in absolutely no other words than "you're not good at singing" by a music teacher when I was in like second grade. We were lined up, we were all sitting in a curve in her music room, and it was an expectation of that school that everybody auditioned for the school choir, the first music lesson of the season. So we just had to do it, right? So she's plunking, it was a school in England, girls' school, so it was, lightly Christian. So she's plunking away at the piano with a hymn, and we're all singing it in unison. And then she steps up. Her name was Miss Goddard. I remember her perfectly. And she walked along this circle of little girls singing, right? As we're singing now a cappella, we're just singing. And she did this metronome thing right in front of me, where she kind of did this back and forth, but the back and forth got smaller and smaller. And then she just sort of stopped. She goes, "Someone is singing flat." And then she kept walking. I was like in second grade. I did not sing out loud probably until I was in college. I was so ashamed and so convinced I couldn't sing. I sang in the shower, I sang in the car, but I never sang in public. I never sang in church. And I was a pretty well-adjusted kid. I had loving parents, I was a happy child, I had enough food, I had a good education, lots of other things in my life were going well. But that scar was real, right? Now, I know lots of young women who were treated that way about math. I know lots of people who thought that they were stupid because of some test that they were given. We don't want that in the church. We want people to learn to love God because God loves them, right? And so we need to think about our pedagogy, our ways of teaching and learning that are respectful of human diversity, that are engaging and inviting. One of the things we do really badly in the church is evaluate things. We just try something, and if a lot of people come or sign up, we think, oh, that was a success. And if they don't, we think it was a failure. We need to dig a little deeper. Like, what did people love who signed up? What did they learn? Did you learn what we thought we were teaching? Did you just like it because the pizza was really good? Did you like it because your best friend came? Did you like it because you were actually very lonely at home and coming out for an evening was something to do? Or did you love it because of the substance of what we were offering, right? Don't be afraid to ask questions in creative ways to find out what's really going on. Don't make assumptions. Let people tell their own stories. That's really, really important. I'm going to say more about that in a minute when we go to some slides. I would love for people who said yes to number 9 to stand up.